Hello everyone, today I come to you on my second channel to give you a somewhat lower effort video. I'm just shooting this on my phone. I just saw today someone made like a bingo card to guess what's gonna happen with the new 21 Pilots album in September, Breach. And kind of not even just limited the album, but the things surrounding the album as well. And I was like, I want to make my own bingo card, and so I did, and we're going to go through it today. So, without further ado, for my first bingo space, I just filled in the free space saying that there will be more than one rap verse. If there is not more than one rap verse on this album, I am sorry for being so bad at guessing. But I'm pretty sure Scaled and Icy is like the album of theirs that has the least amount of rap on it, and even that album has like 4 songs with rap on it. So I think there will be more than one rap verse, and I think so to the point that I'm using that as the free space. So next up, track 1 opens with Hello Blurry Face. As we all know, I should also say that if you are not a 21 Pilots fan and you don't understand the lore or know much about the lore of the Dima storyline, and you don't know what that is at all, just don't question anything I say, because this is going to sound like some nonsense. So anyway, continuing. I really think, considering that Clancy ended with Blurry Face saying hello Clancy, I think that this album is going to open with Tyler saying hello Blurry Face, and then it'll go into the song. And yeah, I just think that that's how the album is going to open, and there's not really anything else I have to say about that. So next bingo space, there will be 11 songs. Also, I need to say right now, these first 2 are things that a lot of people have been saying. But as far as the 11 song thing goes, it just feels right because Clancy had 13 songs. And then they had their Arcane soundtrack song, The Line, which makes 14 songs. And then if we go at 11 songs on this album, that is 25 songs total for these 2 sister albums. And of course, 25 is a number that has been popping up ever since Clancy dropped, pretty much, I guess. And yeah, so it just feels like correct. Although I won't be mad if I get this one wrong and there's more songs, because why would I ever complain about that? But anyway, next bingo space, Breach gets name dropped. Every album since Blurry Face has dropped the title of the album in a song. Like Blurry Face is said in Stressed Out, Trench is said in both Levitate and Leave the City, Scaled and Icy isn't said like Scaled and Icy, but it's like the double meaning of that album name, Scaled Back and Isolated, that is said in Redecorate. And then Clancy, of course, is said in Overcompensate. So I think it is safe to assume that the word breach is going to pop up in, if not multiple songs or multiple times, it's got to be brought up at least once. Like, for sure, there's not really any doubt in my mind about that. And if I'm wrong, let's move to the next one. Okay, next bingo space. Blurry Face voice. I do think that the Blurry Face voice will appear somewhere on this album. I think that it makes sense, considering that, of course, once again, his voice appeared at the end of Clancy, at the end of Paladin Strait. And I feel like it would be weird if they teased him and then they didn't like have him show up ever again. Especially on the last album that has been going on since Blurry Face, the album started it. It's like, might as well have the title character on the last album of the storyline, right? I feel like that makes sense. So I do think that we will hear his voice somewhere at some point on this album. All right, next space. The tour is announced with the release of the first single, The Contract. So this one is the one we will find out the soonest, because The Contract comes out in how many days? Hold up. Yeah, as of this filming, it comes out in 14 days. So we will find it out then. But nonetheless, I feel like the past few albums and tours have been announced differently. Like the tour for Trench was announced like the day the first single came out. And then for Scaled and Icy, obviously that was different because of the pandemic. They announced it a bit later, like after the album's release. And then with Clancy, they announced it with the second single. However, the first single of Clancy dropped the same day they announced the album. And so with this one, they already announced the album without dropping any songs. So I feel like when The Contract comes out, they're going to announce the tour with it. I could be totally wrong on this. Maybe they will do it like the same way-ish of the way that they announced the tour with Clancy, where they just announce it with the second single. But this is just my prediction, so that's what I'm going with. All right, next space. Josh sings. I don't know if he's actually going to sing But I feel like there's a bit of a possibility considering, obviously, he sang a little bit on the MTV Unplugged, and then Tyler got him to sing even a little more on the Clancy tour, probably most notably with Midwest Indigo. He sang the pre-chorus for that on the tour. But nonetheless, I feel like there's a big chance that Josh could sing something on this, whether it just be a harmony or something. I just feel like there's a possibility for it. Especially if we think about lore implications in the Torchbearer, and like maybe it'd be cool to have Josh sing, I guess, as the Torchbearer on this album. But we'll see about that. Okay, next space. Drum solo or emphasis on a fill. I feel like on this album, Josh is going to have some sort of drum solo moment where he has his time to shine as the great drummer he is, where it's just him doing his solo, whether it be really simple or really crazy, just a moment for his drums to shine. And if not a solo, emphasis on a fill. And what I mean by that is like navigating, like right before the chorus, how he has that fill before the chorus on there. And it's like the only instrumentation at that moment in the song. I feel like something has to happen on this album where there's emphasis on Josh's drums at a certain point, but we will see. Next, bingo space. The track list correlates with A, D, I, H, G, R, T, N, S, and D. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. So basically, the night before the first single for Clancy, Overcompensate, dropped, Tyler tweeted these letters in that order. And then like a minute later, he responded saying, guys, this is obviously nothing. You know I would always be straightforward with you. And if you're not too familiar with 21 Pilots, Tyler is never straightforward about anything with anyone ever. So, and this kind of ties in with the 11 songs thing where there's 11 letters there. And basically, this is where the whole double album theory spawned, or I like to more so call it the second album theory, because like this is not how a true double album works. If you want to know how a true double album works, look up the Beatles' White Album. That's just that. But nonetheless, this second album theory spawned from this and being like, oh, what if the first letter is each letter of each song on the track list for the second album? And we don't know the track list yet. And also, I think this kind of corresponds with the tour announcement thing where we will find this out at the same time that they announce, if they announce a tour when the contract comes out. Unless they decide to gatekeep the track list from us for even longer, who knows? But to be honest, if the track list does not correlate with those letters, what do they mean? What do they mean? Because Tyler, there is no way that you actually tweeted that and it meant nothing. There's absolutely no way. You cannot convince me. You just cannot convince me no matter what, okay? There's no way. Either way. Next, bingo space. At least 6 songs are heavily lore related. With this being the final album of the storyline, I feel like we're going to get a lot more lore songs than we did on Clancy. We thought that Clancy would be the last album of this whole thing, but it wasn't. And there weren't as many like blatant lore songs as we expected there to be. And so I feel like this is where the lore is really going to show up a lot on this album. I say only 6 because I'm sure there's going to be a decent amount of songs that are not lore related like usual, or at least not like that's the main focus of the song. But I feel like at least 6, which is essentially like half the album, I feel like that makes a lot of sense for there to be at least 6 lore related songs. Maybe there'll be less. I don't think there's going to be that many more than that though, but at least 6 for sure. Next bingo space. The last song will be over 15 minutes. What the frick? I did not mean that. The last song, holy crap. Could you imagine? No, the last song will be over 5 minutes. I need to read my own bingo card. Okay. Okay. I feel like it being the very last song of this whole storyline, it's gotta be on the longer end. And I think if it's like 5 minutes or over, that would make a lot of sense. I know that Leave the City on Trench came pretty close to 5 minutes. It wasn't fully there, but I feel like this is going to push it over. And of course, Paladin Strait is over 6 minutes, but technically one of those minutes is just birds. But even without that, though, if you take that minute of silence out, that song is still over 5 minutes. I feel like there's no way that that song is over 5 minutes, and this one is not. So yeah, I think this album closer will definitely be over 5 minutes long, or at least 5 minutes, somewhere around there for sure. Next, bingo space. The tour is not called the Breach Tour. I don't think it will be. I will not be surprised if it is, but I do not really think it will be, for sure at least. Because, of course, for Trench, they had the Bandito Tour. For Scaled and Icy, they had the Takeover Tour and the Icy Tour. They had 2 chances to call it the Scaled and Icy Tour, and they just never did. They didn't even do it where one was the Scaled Tour and one was the Icy Tour. They just, like, totally left that out entirely. And for their first leg of tour for Blurryface, I know that it was the Blurryface tour. However, the second leg was Emotional Roadshow. And then of course we cut to the Clancy tour, and it is the Clancy World Tour. That it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare that you get a tour with the name of their album. So I don't think that it will be called the Breach Tour. And that's why I think that. And I think that's the very last thing I have written down that we will know before the album drops. So without further ado, next bingo space. 3 lore music videos. I saw someone have a bingo card that said 4. There's no way. Because with Trench, we got more than 3 music videos, but 3 of them were specifically lore related. Like they took place within Dima and all that. And then with Scaled and Icy, we got Saturday and The Outside. And arguably, although some people don't agree, in my opinion, Shy Away as well. Because then again, with Clancy, they made a music video for every song on the album, but only 3 were lore related. So there you have that. I would almost say maybe there will only be like 2, maybe, but 3 feels like it matches the rest. So maybe we'll get more music videos, but only 3 will be specifically, strictly lore related. Next bingo space, Nico, Dima, and Bishops all get name dropped. Considering this is going to be assumably, whatever the word is, a pretty lore heavy album, I do think that all of those would make sense to get name dropped. I don't think any of the other bishops will get named, to be honest. I mean, they could. That would be very surprising, but I don't think it'll happen. But either way, specifically this space, I think these 3 are going to all get name dropped. Next bingo space. This is something a lot of people have been saying, but I don't think there's going to be a Jenna song on this album, like how a lot of the previous albums have had. Of course, you have like Tear in My Heart, Smithereens, The Craving, arguably Formidable. I don't think that this album will have a Jenna song, though, considering that, like, again, it's going to be a pretty lore-heavy album, and I don't know, especially with 11 songs, if there's really going to be, like, room to, like, have that as a side quest. Just being honest. Although, will I be surprised if there is a Jenna song on this album? No. But at the same time, considering that we already got The Craving with Clancy, and that was less lore focused, and this is probably going to be more lore focused, I don't think that there's going to be a song dedicated to her on the album. Maybe she'll get like mentioned at some point, like as a little nod, like, you know, Good Day, Wife and Child, you know. But yeah, that is what I think about that. So next bingo space. The last song gives the story a clear end. I do think that, like, they've had a long time, Tyler's had a long time to wrap up this story and figure out how to end it. Of course, there's going to be a music video that, like, shows the end, but they are a band first, and I think that they really are going to make sure that this album, likely concept album, wraps itself up in the end, for sure. Especially considering, like, Paladin Straight, the song, and the music video, you kind of get the same information in each version, to be honest. So I feel like this is going to be pretty much the same way. At least for the most part. Like, maybe the music video will show a bit more, but you'll get the gist of it with the song. Like, you'll get enough. You'll, like, understand, be like, oh, this is the end. I understand. I get it. And another thing I mean by that is I don't think that it's going to be too ambiguous. I think it'll be, like, pretty cut and dry as far as that goes, which a lot of people think otherwise, and that's definitely a possibility, but I'm going to swing with the fences with this guess in this bingo space. So next bingo space, baritone ukulele. It's like Tyler's favorite instrument. He literally said that in the Clancy live stream. So it's got to pop up somewhere. Even if it's just for like one song, it's going to be there somewhere. That's all I have to say about that. All right, next. No Ned appearances. Some people have been saying, oh, Ned is going to return. I genuinely don't think Ned is going to show up. I think we've seen him for the last time when he served his purpose in the Outside music video by giving Clancy the antlers. And I think that's it. I think that's all he's really there for. I don't think he's gonna return unless maybe the ending is like this big triumphant thing and they do like a Return of the Jedi kind of thing where they show all the Neds celebrating or whatever. I don't even think that's gonna happen. Like that's just like I don't think Ned is going to appear ever again. Maybe on like the tour and they'll like call back to him, whatever. But like as far as the story goes, he's not appearing. He's just not. So that's just what I think about that. Next up, song about suicide. So considering, I mean, like the main message of the band as a whole, it would make sense, and not even just that, but also vialism within the story and what that alludes to. I think it would make a lot of sense for there to be. I don't know if it will be like as it's hard to say because they did Neon Gravestones and that was really heavy subject wise. I mean, even here it's like no matter what it's going to be like a heavy subject, but nonetheless, I do think that there's going to be a song that is like strictly about that on this album. So that is my guess on that. Next, bingo space. I think there will be at least one big scream. Tyler had some very impressive vocal moments on Clancy for sure. But considering what he is capable of, they were kind of reserved-ish. Not that screaming crazy would be making those songs better at all necessarily, but I do think on this album he's gonna let it out, especially it's the last one of the storyline. He's got to go crazy at some point. I don't know what song, context, whatever, I don't know, but we got to get something similar to Jumpsuit or even Goner for that matter. So I think that he's going to have at least one big scream, probably more than that, but I don't know. I'm just putting at least one to play it a little bit safe. But yeah, next up, Tyler falsetto. This one is a little more easier to guess. He's done falsetto on pretty much all the previous albums. I think it's incredibly likely that he will go into falsetto for some of these songs for sure. All right, next bingo space. At least one song revolves around a sick bass line. Basically what I mean by this is Jumpsuit, maybe even like My Blood, where it's just the bass line kicks in and it's like the main thing you're focused on in that song. It's like the centerpiece, you know what I mean? And that's what I mean by that. Now, speed run, let's keep going. Next bingo space, Josh Dunn name drop. The judge, Josh Dunn. And of course, Trench, not done, Josh Dunn. Come up with Josh Dunn on Clancy. I just think that it's very likely there wasn't a proper one on Skill and Icy. There was live, but not within the actual like studio album. But I think that it's very possible on this one. I'm not putting too much hope in it, but I think it is for sure a possibility. All right, next bingo space. There is not a music video for every song. They did a music video for every song for Clancy. As I previously mentioned, not all lore related, only 3. But nonetheless, I just don't think they're going to do that again because I just don't think so. I know that it was like a lot of work for them to do that. And again, they said lore music videos are like really expensive to pull off. And considering this is going to be a more lore focused album, I don't think that they're going to do a ton of music videos. And that kind of goes back to what I said about there potentially being 3 lore music videos. So that's all I got to say about that. All right, last bingo space. Clancy Lives. This one is it's a risky take. A lot of people have been saying otherwise. Maybe not a lot, but there have definitely been some people who have been saying otherwise. I think they're wrong. I think they're wrong for the fact that Clancy is the protagonist. This story is about mental health. It would be weird for him to die. I mean, I'm not saying they can't pull it off, but then you bring into the fact that Tyler is Clancy. Is he just gonna stop singing at the end, or is it like he has a last word before he dies in the last song? Like what? I don't know. I just don't think Clancy's gonna die. I think that he's gonna live, and that is my take on the Breach bingo card. So whoever is watching this video right now, I hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope you don't think I'm too insane for these takes. And I mean, a lot of them looking back, they're pretty mild. Some of them are just like, oh yeah, of course, I could easily see this happening. It's just like, there are definitely a couple out there ones on here that are just, we really, really, really won't know for sure until we hear the album. So Yeah, I'm really pumped for it. And also, whenever the album's out, slash, whenever we get the very last music video, considering I did the whole thing about there being 3 Lore music videos, whatever that is, I will revisit this list and we will see what I got right. I am not going to look at this list again until then. So, yes, I hope to see you all in September or whenever the last music video comes out. And that's all I got to say about that. So, see y'all later.
And save Ferris.